Happy New Year, Northaven family and friends, and welcome to 2021 Northaven Voices. It's going to be an exciting year, and we're going to kick it off this year with interviewing 3 key individuals in our organization that are executive directors of 3 key and very important organizations, nonprofit organizations in North Texas. The first one will be with Martha Stowe, who is the executive director for the Vickery Meadows Youth Development Foundation. And then we will be interviewing Kirsten Brant James, who is the executive director for Project Transformation of North Texas. And then finally, we will be interviewing Judy Rory, who is the executive director for North Dallas Shared Ministries. So I hope you will enjoy these interviews, learn more about these organizations and how they support our children and how they support the needs of our community. And so we'll start with Martha. Enjoy your day. Happy New Year, and we'll talk soon. Hi, Martha, and thank you for joining Northaven Voices today. So we're excited to hear about the Vickery Meadows Youth Development Foundation. But before we get into the foundation, can you talk about your background? Tell us a little bit about Martha and what your passions are, what you've been doing, and how it led into you being the executive director for the Vickery Meadows Youth Development Foundation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when I was in high school, I think my sister came home one day and told me I was going to be a social worker, which I always do what my sister tells me to do. But she'd had a friend in a mental hospital and realized it was a social worker that really helped her friend. And so I became curious as to what social work was, and indeed fell in love with it. So I actually also went to seminary, but knew that I didn't want to be a minister. I wanted to help with service and community. So I actually talked Lovers Lane Methodist into hiring me to be a social worker on the staff. And I worked there for many years and ended up, as we were talking about earlier, being the kind of the COO, if you will, of Lovers Lane. My passion's always been, I tried being a therapist and I had some skills at it, but I kept being frustrated. I was sending the people back to a bad situation. I could make them feel good for an hour, but then where they were living and their family systems and all were the problems. So I realized that I wanted to change the systems. I wanted to change the communities. And so I've been very fortunate to have a series of interesting jobs where I've actually always been the first person to have that job. So I get to create it as I go, which is really fun for me. I really enjoy that. So I really have a passion for 2 things: getting folks engaged in social issues, like figuring out your skill set, for example, and then finding where you can be plugged into the community to make a difference. And then the other is, how can we create communities that really help people have healthy families, have a good lifestyle, if you will? How can we really change the institutions, change the structures so that people have a great life? Those are the 2 things that really are passionate to me. And the faith is a lot of that. I really enjoyed working through the congregations, working through the churches to find ways for the churches to reach out to the community. I've done that a lot. And then with healthcare, I've actually been in 2 different healthcare systems doing the same thing. And now I'm back in the community doing it at a community level, of seeing how we can get people to seeing what we can put in place to help people have great lives.
Oh, good. Well, I know just my working with you, I've just been so inspired by your many gifts, and
thank you.
You are calming, and through a lot of there's a lot of stress right now, but there's always there's a calming just make help us feel calm, as
Oh,
in leadership role as the chair of the leadership team here at Northaven. So,
oh, I
so
appreciate that.
yeah, well, you're welcome. And I love you your profile said that you had started multiple nonprofit organizations and have been received a number of awards. Can you speak to that?
Why'd you read all this? Yeah, I really love starting things. Keeping them going is not nearly so much fun, but starting them is really fun. And so I've been part of starting 11 or 12 different agencies in Dallas. I was actually, people don't realize this because I've been around so long, but I was actually part of starting North Dallas Shared Ministries and
Oh,
Family Gateway and Promise House and Trinity River Mission, which is now part of Boys and Girls Club, but also the community outreach at Presbyterian, the Injury Prevention Center, which I ran for years, this foundation that I run now. So yeah, I like to start things. Yeah, the creative process I really enjoy. Yeah.
and they're still standing and moving, going. So
Most of them are. Most of them are. This has been a hard year. I've had a couple of them close down actually, so that's been hard. But yeah, most of them are.
What can you tell us about the background about Vickery Meadows Youth Development Foundation? Why don't you tell us a little bit of the history of that?
Yeah, it's pretty amazing actually, because I was running the Injury Prevention Center, and an old friend that I had worked with in the Vickery Meadow neighborhood when I used to be the director of outreach for Presbyterian Healthcare System. And when I was there, we looked right outside our windows and realized that we were surrounded, as the hospital were surrounded with a whole area of need that was being very neglected. Mm-hmm. So we started a Healthy Communities initiative there in the Vickery Meadow neighborhood. At that time, the like Domino's wouldn't even deliver pizza because it was so dangerous. And the police called it the Meadow Ghetto. I mean, it was really, really a rough area. And there were no nonprofits working over there at the time. So we really started from scratch and started working over there. And I did that for about 5 or 6 years before I left to go to Parkland, and then continued to do some work over there, even at Parkland. But so a friend who owned property in Vickery called me up and said, I want to start a foundation back in Vickery, and would you come and run it? Well, that's like Christmas and every other holiday all wrapped up together.
Oh, how sweet.
So yeah, so he had raised money and continued to raise money, and my job is to figure out how we can spend the money to make an impact on the community. And he had tried to do, before he brought me back in, he had tried to do like a basketball camp, I think it was, or maybe it was soccer, and realized the kids didn't have the shoes to even participate. And then when he brought them dinner, that they were all carrying the dinner home to the rest of their family. And so it made him aware that there was a huge area of need there. And there sure is, there truly is. Mm-hmm. So my job is basically to figure out what needs to happen in the community and then to make it happen. Mm-hmm. And again, that really appeals to me, to my creativity. So constantly looking at the data when we can get it, and looking at what's going on and what needs to go on. And someone said, are you like the little United Way of Vickery? And in a way we are, because we are able to give out some funding for programs. Mm-hmm. We bring in a lot of programs, talk people into coming into the neighborhood to do the work that's needed to be done. Good. We do collaborations that bring together, like during COVID, every week, some of the directors of the agencies that work in the area, we gather together every week on Zoom and discuss what's happening, what needs to happen, etc. And then just constantly trying to address problems either through the school district or through the city, whatever, to keep the quality of life at a high level in the community. That's very challenging because the housing stock is very old, and how in the world do we have affordable housing that's still good housing stock. That's one of our biggest issues right now, is how to address that problem.
Yeah, and that's worrisome now, because because it seems like it's getting harder and harder to find affordable housing.
It really is. It
Yeah.
really is. And you don't want people stuck in housing that's not good, but you don't want to tear it all down, because it'll be more expensive when it's rebuilt. So really difficult.
Almost catch 22 there. How do you work through this? What I loved about when I was looking at the website, which is www.bmydf.com, is that correct?
Right.
It was it had the mission, but the first line was, "The greatest gift we can give a child is education." So, and I love that. And I know that there was a video recently that was shown at the church, and you were able to give a number of books to bring to the community there. And there was like 40 different languages spoken, is something like that.
That's true.
Thank you. I mean, what a wonderful gift. I know my grandchildren are just readers like crazy, and it's such a key thing and such an important thing, because what I also understand is that in the DISD, there only 4 out of 10 are at reading level. So that means like 60% struggle with reading, right? So.
Right. It's so basic. One of the things we discovered quickly, and luckily a lot of this has been addressed, but there were like 1 or 2 early childhood programs. And so our kids in Vickery were getting to kindergarten without knowing a letter, a color, being able to voice an emotion. And a lot of them don't know English. And so they were already behind when they were getting to kindergarten. And luckily, we were able to bring in a couple of good programs to help address that. But also DISD now has put into place pre-K, which I understand may be threatened by the next legislative session. There may not be money to continue it, but we're seeing a great improvement because the kids are getting more training earlier. But we also have brought in several programs where we're teaching the parents how to teach the children, of course.
Oh,
and yeah, those have been very, very successful programs, and we're really proud of that. What we try to do is look at the whole continuum from early childhood all the way through college. And we have a very successful college readiness program and college program, but then learned they didn't know how to get a job out of college. Because I think about myself, my parents, friends and connections helped me get my first job interviews and my first jobs. And if you don't have people in those connections, then it's really hard to know how to get a job. And of course, now so many things are online. You just have to fill it out online. So we've actually had to expand after college to help folks make those connections to get a job. And that's been really interesting too. So we have programs throughout the whole pipeline, from early childhood all the way through college, and now to a career, hopefully.
So how long has the foundation been in place?
13 years.
13 years. Wow. Yeah, and I know that there's a lot of people in our congregation that are involved in working with the helping kids with the college programs, right? Yeah. Right.
Northaven has been very generous too. Yes, volunteers. Yeah, one day I walked into the school cafeteria, and here's Bob Dupe with a whole table of kids, and he's trying to help them understand how to do finances. And I was just dumbstruck. I was like, yeah, look at him. I walked in that same day. I looked over, and there was Renee Robinson. She had another group of kids that she was trying to do some planning with, and yeah, I could go on and on with all the people who've been involved in Vickery. Jan Sanders and Fran McElvaney struggled to get to teach reading at one of the elementary schools before they got a good program there with that, but they hung with it. And Norma has been in the library using her school library skills. So yes, we've had a lot of Northaven people. Ron and Frank have done everything with the Eagle Scholars kids, the college readiness kids, of helping them get ready for school. Yeah, the list goes on and on. It's amazing, all the things that Northaven folks have done in Vickery.
Well, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. So, what do you think you're most proud of?
Um, it's it was my idea, but like everything, I float the ideas and find somebody else who knows what to do to get them done. But our college readiness program is really excellent. These kids, almost all are refugee kids, very smart kids, but coming here with some incredible stories, but also not knowing English for the most part, and ending up ready for college and completing college at 3 times the rate of the rest of the DISD students. So our kids not only they all stay in high school, a huge portion of them, 80% or so, go to college. And of that, something like 48% have actually finished college, and then several have gone on to graduate school. I've had a couple of kids who have come as refugees, finished college, gone back to their home country to be doctors and teachers. Just amazing stories, amazing stories. Yeah. Some of these kids are highly motivated to learn. They want to be at school. They want to know new things. And they just needed the direction, somebody who knows society, somebody who knows the way we do things here in the United States to help them with I tell this story all the time because it's just so clearly the issue. One of the college kids said, I went to class the first day and they didn't give me my books, because when you go to high school, they hand you your books, but in college you have to go buy your books. But who thinks to tell you that? We all just know that, right? Right. So it's everything from that to a lot of our college kids want to go home in order to have the food they like to eat. We don't think about how often we've had to work with the ISD to get rice into the schools, because so many of our kids are from Asian and African countries where rice is a staple. And for the longest time, DISD didn't do rice or do it very often. Yeah. So, it's just amazing the things that come up, little things that become big. $150 bill that'll keep them from going forward with college. $150. I mean, we can take care of that. We constantly learn in the process ourselves. So.
So that's where all the collaboration and the linking is, so that but I think about you saying I'm good at doing the ideas and the other folks come and execute it, but it's like planting the seed and sowing it, right? So feeding and so it's beautiful. Yeah. I feel like I should be over there doing something. Oh. I think I will. What keeps you going with all the challenges of running a nonprofit, as this year has been very tough?
Yeah.
But it's tough even without this year, but because fundraising is always a challenge, right? So it's what keeps you going? So
especially with this job, you get to know the families and you know personally what's going on with them. Mm-hmm. And if that isn't motivating, I don't know what is, because again, a lot of beautiful families, a lot of beautiful people who just need the opportunity, just need a chance to. We have refugees coming in. Well, we did have. Hopefully, they'll start coming back again. With who are doctors in their other countries or professors, and they're shelving at Sam's or at Walmart. And it's just such a waste of a great brain, a great potential, and that sort of thing. So injustice keeps me motivated. Yeah. Just loving the hearts and the minds of the folks and wanting to see them, be able to accomplish the things that they can need and want to accomplish. I mean, that's very motivating to me. And the whole child of God. I mean, these are children of God, and we're called to lift them up and help in every way we can.
Mm-hmm. Oh, beautiful. I love that. So what can we do to support you? Financially we can, and there's ways to do that. How else can we help your organization? Yeah.
Well, one of the wonderful things about Northaven is that most of us have been able to get a really nice education, and one of the most helpful things is to help people be educated. And so working in the schools, volunteering in the schools, working with folks who want to learn English and need a pal to talk with. Those are very important. Helping them find jobs other than shelving at Sam's. Those are very important. During COVID, honestly, we've had to switch to being really survival skills. So we've been paying people's rent and getting food in there. We worked at Parkland to get the COVID testing site. Mm-hmm. Now we'll be working on getting the vaccine set up. So we've, along with everyone else, had to pivot. But our kids stayed online with our college readiness. They've stayed on Zoom with the staff. They're still working on their applications for college. They're still working on scholarships. They're still doing all that. So we've learned a lot, and we've learned some things that will continue. But so some things are on Zoom. But I really think the whole education and the equity parts. Right now we're undergoing a zoning issue that I could definitely use some expertise to help me with that, because as you can imagine, with the location of Vickery, it's always been primed to gentrify, and everybody wants to make money off of that land. And if it happens, where do these folks go?
That's right. That's right. That's right.
And so it's a big issue. It's a struggle, and I could certainly use any help and expertise with this challenge.
Yeah, I can see that. I didn't even think about that, but I'm glad you brought that up, because there's so much construction going on and tearing down and pushing people out.
Yeah. Well, if you've driven down Meadow Road, you've seen it go from apartments that were affordable to now very high end, very nice places to live. But it's a total change for that part of Vickery. Meadow is now more Vickery. So.
Yeah. Well, I think we're going to come to a close now. Is there anything else you would like to say, or about your organization, or?
No, I guess the thing that has occurred to me during COVID is that coming out of COVID, it's going to be even more important organization, because the schools, the kids have suffered. Every principal has told me this is, we're trying, but it's really not working that well. So the kids are going to have to catch up. A lot of the community has had COVID, a lot, because they all live in apartments. We don't know what the long-term health effects of that are going to be. And then, of course, the jobs, keeping people in jobs and in food. We can't get enough food into the community. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Well, and I know what just hit me when you were saying that is the need for more mentoring.
Yes.
after we can COVID, if you will, there's going to be a lot more need to mentor and get these kids back up to a skill level.
Yes. And one of the things I'm proud of is that Northaven has said yes to adopting Tasby Middle School, because everyone's good with the little ones, but it's those middle school kids that are the hardest. And yet that's such a pivotal time in their life, because that's when they decide to drop out. That's when they start getting into drugs, whatever. And so we had started before COVID, we were working on a mentoring program with the middle school kids, which again, it's not for everybody, but for those who are brave, and a lot of people really enjoy that age, we will be putting that into place once.
It is a very critical age. I know what my son went through at his.
There you go. Yeah.
So it's Martha, thank you so much for your many gifts. You are so special, and we appreciate you so much. And let's just help. If you listen to what she said, folks, and use your voice, spread the love. Is what I like to say. Spread the love. Use your voice, especially in if you can help with the zoning, you can help with the mentoring and educating the families and the students. So, anyway, thank you, Martha, again. Next week we will have Kirsten Brant James, who will be talking about project transformation in North Texas. So, I'm looking forward to that too. Thank you, Martha. You take care.
Thank you, Bob. You too.